To City Council meeting for October 16th, 2017. Before we begin, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Okay, Councilor Bouchard.
Here.
Mayor Boulay.
He can't make it.
Councilor Champlin.
Here.
Councilor Cohen.
Here.
Councilor Grady Sexton.
Here.
Councilor Hirschlag.
Here.
Councilor Keach.
Here.
Councilor Kennison.
Here.
Councilor Kretovic.
Here.
Councilor Mattson.
Here.
Councilor Nyan.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem St. Hilaire.
Present.
Councilor Shortliff.
He's excused.
Councilor Todd.
Here.
And Councilor Werner.
Excused. Thank you very much. We obviously have a quorum tonight. Tonight's meeting has one single purpose. Basically, it's to discuss the issue of Keno, and just let me make some clarifications regarding the public hearing for tonight. Under state statute, the governing body, which is the City Council, can vote on whether this question of whether to have Keno in the City of Concord can be placed on the ballot. The City Council did vote to place this question on a ballot, so therefore, during the municipal elections in November, the question of whether to have Keno licensed in Concord will be on the ballot and up to the voters. The reason why we are having this public hearing is because the statute also prescribes that the local governing body have a hearing that has to be at least 15 days, but not more than 30 days before the question is to be voted on. And we've noticed this hearing in a couple of different places, and therefore we're here tonight first to hear a presentation from the Lottery Commission, who I presume will go into what Keno is and what that would mean for the City of Concord, perhaps. And then after that, open it up to the public to voice their opinions regarding Keno. But again, keep in mind that there's no decision that's going to be made tonight on Keno. That is up to the voters. And of course, any City Council that wants to weigh in may do so as well. So with that, unless there are any questions from the councilors, I'd ask the representatives from the New Hampshire Lottery Commission to come forward first, please. Good evening. Yes, please sit down there, and you could state your name for the record, your position, and we can get started.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Kelly J. Cleland, Director of Sales and Product Development for the New Hampshire Lottery, and I'm here to talk about Keno. I think a lot of the information that you have in front of you is familiar. I believe it's a similar presentation that Director McIntyre presented about a month ago. And really, the details for Concord are you have about 63 permissible locations in Concord. Right now, we've already scheduled or have meetings with about 7 locations, with more calls going out for recruitment just to see what the interest is here. And interest is pretty high, which is exciting. What this will allow your bars and taverns to do is to offer Keno. Equipment is free of charge for them. They receive, for every Keno dollar sold, they receive an 8% commission on that. And they also receive assistance from us for marketing and promotion. They also have a dedicated sales rep who is in the Concord area for regular lottery and will also help each of these places with providing play slips, pencils, point of sale materials, hosting Keno parties to drive more sales into the bars and taverns. Have any of you ever played Keno?
Yes.
You have? Mm-hmm. Okay. So
For the record, that's one person.
One person. I played a couple of times as well. And it was surprising that in the bar, there were monitors for Keno. When the draw happens in Massachusetts, it's every 4 minutes. Here, it would be every 5 minutes. And they were non-invasive. It didn't bother me when I was sitting there. And I was playing, but then there were also other TVs on showing the game or what have you. So it's not intrusive for people who aren't fans of Keno. And there are people who aren't, and that's okay. The game isn't for anyone or everyone. It's just like anything else. The funds do go to fund full-day kindergarten. About $1,100 is earmarked for the first FY19. We're not demanded to raise funds this year. It's just implementation phase, and then in FY19 it would be $1,100. And then if we have enough funds, then it can go up to $1,800 per pupil in an enrolled and approved kindergarten. So it is a win-win for municipalities because you're driving more business to the bars and restaurants rather than somebody driving past here to go to another destination to play Keno. They're right here. So we'll see higher check averages at bars. That's what other states report, which means higher tips, higher salaries for the folks working there. And it also means that we're bringing back some funds that are right now being spent in Massachusetts. In FY16, over $900 million were the sales for Keno in Massachusetts, $900 million. Of the claims of $600 and greater in Massachusetts, about 2.5% of those claims were from New Hampshire residents. So we know New Hampshire folks are playing. It's probably more the southern tier, but they are playing. So our goal is to bring that money back here and support education. And as you're probably aware, all of the New Hampshire lottery funds go to education. So it's not really that unusual. Does anyone have any questions?
Councilor Champlin.
Thanks for your information.
Sure.
So if Concord's voters choose not to authorize Keno here, how would that affect our eligibility to receive funding for full-day kindergarten?
It doesn't. It doesn't. There are plenty of towns, cities, and well, actually towns in New Hampshire that likely have schools but don't have an establishment to support it. Same for them. It doesn't mean that funds won't be here, but it does mean less funds for Keno, and it does mean that the bars and restaurants here would lose out on that opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was wondering if you could explain to me more of the nuance of Keno.
Sure.
You're at an establishment and you pick numbers, but you say they pick somewhere in the ether numbers every 5 minutes. So who
Okay.
does that? Is that in New Hampshire? Is this like multiple states that gather together, like Megabucks? Could you explain that?
I can, yes. So Keno would be a completely New Hampshire-specific game, unlike any other draw game, which would be Megabucks, Gimme 5, Hot Lotto, Powerball. All of those are either a tri-state game or a multi-state game. So this would be completely New Hampshire-specific. That's why we're able to name it Keno 603, so keeping it local. And with that, it's a draw every 5 minutes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And a person has the opportunity to choose numbers 1 through 80. They can choose up to 12 numbers, and then every 5 minutes, 20 random numbers are drawn. Now, that's done on a random number generator. We're actually trying to determine where that will be housed, whether it's going to be here in New Hampshire or at our data site in Vermont or elsewhere. It's all computerized, completely random, no human touching of the numbers, and that allows it to be rapid. It's a rapid draw number game. So every 5 minutes, you have 20 numbers pop up. And a person can wager, they can bet one number, which they call a spot, or they can bet up to 12. They have a chance to win back anywhere from $1 to $1 million. And then there's a multiplier that then makes the prize structure a little more complex. So I could play 5 spots, I could play, 5 numbers, and depending on how many spots you choose to play, depends on how much you're going to win, depending on how many of those numbers are matched for the ones that are drawn.
So if you do win, where would you cash this in? At the establishment you're playing at, if it's under a certain amount, or do you have to go to the Lottery Commission?
There are a couple options. So they certainly can cash it in right there if it's under $600. They could also choose, there's an MP, it's a self-service terminal. They could choose to reinvest that money to play more, or they could take that ticket to any New Hampshire lottery retailer and it can be cashed there. If it's over $600, then they do have to come to Concord, or they can mail their ticket in and claim it through the mail.
Thanks. Councilor Champlin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. When you say reinvest their winnings, that implies that there's a guaranteed return. That's not what you mean to imply, is it?
No, there's not. It's gambling.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they win, if it's a winning ticket and they want to play again, they can reinvest, or they can cash out by going to the bartender.
All right, follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. Modern electronic, computer-driven slot machines are designed so that they can assess the gaming techniques and preferences of the person sitting in front of the machine and modify their behavior so that they keep that person gaming and encourage them to gamble more. Do the Keno machines have a similar faculty?
Not that I'm aware of. The numbers that are drawn for this are the same across the state. So it doesn't matter if I'm sitting here or in Berlin, the same numbers. So there's no way to be intuitive with that. People play, when they place their wagers, it's all random. There's no way to know what those numbers are going to be.
Well, follow up?
Yes.
I mean, theoretically, slot machines are random too, but they are designed to be manipulative. That's what I'm trying to assess. So the Keno machines don't have this capability.
Not that I'm aware
They're
of.
not all networked to a central computer that can modify them and modify the wins in order to keep people gaming.
Aren't they filling out a card?
They're filling out a play slip, correct? Yeah. But when they place that wager, there is a central system, but there's nobody playing with that central system. It's completely anonymous.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. If you hang around and somebody from the public has a question, we might want to call you up to answer those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public wishing to testify on this issue? Please, welcome, join us.
Do I have a time limit?
Well, it depends. Are you thinking about a half an hour?
No, I'm not thinking about that. I might be thinking about more than 3 minutes.
Oh, I think we can handle that tonight. Representative, you can state your name for the record, please?
Representative Paul Henley, I represent Ward 2, in the body that dumped this thing in your lap. I did not vote for this bill. I do not support this bill. My hope is that the city of Concord will choose not to approve Keno. This is a unique situation. This is not business as usual with the state of New Hampshire that we do for decades. Fund education partly through gambling. That's something we decided to do a long time ago and something I believe we're all comfortable with. But we've never tied the amount of money spent on education with the result of our gambling endeavors. The advocacy grant that the city of Concord gets every year is set and doesn't change depending upon the number of scratch tickets that are sold that year. But yet this bill would actually say City of Concord would get more money for kindergarten if Keno is more successful. Think about that. What we're saying, we're actually going deep into the gambling business and saying how we fund education, how we choose to live as a society will depend on how much citizens of the state gamble. And that is despicable to me. I'll pretty much leave that there. I mean, I think the people of Concord should vote for this if they want to play Keno in Concord. If the legislature really, this bill, by the way, happened, in a closed room, in a back door. There was no public hearing on this bill. This whole concept of tying Keno to kindergarten this way came, at the last stroke of midnight, which is a terrible process. And if it places everybody in the state when they vote. All the citizens of Concord, they have a Sophie's choice. If they want kindergarten, but they oppose gambling, they have a terrible choice to make. And many of my colleagues in the legislature had to make that choice, and they voted for this bill because they believe strongly in the need, as I do, for kindergarten in this state, and that the state should fund kindergarten. But to do it in this way, and to believe that this is our only choice, because it's not our only choice to fund kindergarten. The state of New Hampshire could easily fund kindergarten if the legislature had the will to do so. And to think that this is our only chance to get kindergarten is false. And so I would urge people not to vote for this bill if the reason you're voting for it is to fund kindergarten. I think the people of New Hampshire should say in a very loud voice, no, we want to fund kindergarten in the normal way, which is state of the legislature authorizes the money for kindergarten. And that's my piece.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Are there any questions from the council? Councilor Hirschlag.
Just a comment. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I want to say that I strongly support that the public has a voice in letting us know whether they would like to have Keno or not have Keno in the community. But I would also like to say that you have stated my position much more eloquently than I could have.
Well, that's a first, Alan.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
And let me just add, in case there's any confusion, I believe the way the bill is now, that even if no municipality in the state voted to have Keno and there was no Keno in the state, we still would get $1,100 per kindergarten student. And if Keno is adopted around and a threshold is not met, everybody will still get $1,100. The difference comes when, if enough money is raised, I don't know what the figure is, but if we cross some threshold, then that's when potentially school districts could get as much as $1,800 per pupil. But there is a floor that is guaranteed no matter how successful Keno is.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this question? Any counselors wish to say anything? What? I don't know. Since we're not voting on an issue, I was going to keep the hearing open for the counselors, because once I close the hearing, I'm not going to allow the counselors to speak. Yeah, since we're not voting on anything tonight. Speak now, or ever hold your peace.
I'll just say that I, for once, agree with Councilor Hirschlag, and it's very refreshing.
The clerk has made a note of that.
Mayor Pro
Councilor
Tem,
Cohen,
again,
yes.
could you explain about the ballot itself and what it's going to, the statement on the ballot? Do we know what it says, or?
I'll have to defer to the clerk, but the election's November 7th,
Right.
municipal elections. So there'll be city council elections, school board elections, and that question will be on the
It's
ballot.
on the bottom of the ballot, and it's a short little statement, question that asked if you would vote to have Keno in the city of Concord.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Thank you.
So it's on the bottom of every ballot.
Yes.
Any other questions at all? All right, with that, I will close the public hearing. And again, remind voters that this question will be on the ballot November 7th. Polls will be open. What time will polls?
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in every ward. With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, and good night.